Oh, yeah. There's going to be a celebration. I can't wait. It is tomorrow in City Hall. The Philadelphia Soul are world champions. It's awesome. Awesome feeling. Bob Long is here. I'm Adrian Fetke. That is correct. Bob is double dipping, coming back to the Bitter Birds. BobLongSports.com, the official home of the Philadelphia Soul pregame show. Welcome to the show.
Adrian, thanks again for having me. It's great to be back. And for the Philadelphia Soul, great to be a winner, a much-deserved championship, a really, really good team, and maybe even a better game that we saw on Friday night.
That was a great game. It really was. They jumped out to that quick 21-0 lead. The Rattlers, they stormed back. And then those two touchdown passes there in the fourth quarter to, oh boy, Kali Namoku. I think I got that right.
That's right. Sean Kalinamoku, you can just call him SK from now on.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, SK. I got the first one out of the way. SK all the way from now on.
It's Sean Kalinamoku is a guy that has been that second receiver, sometimes third, but really that second guy behind the big playability of Darius Money Reynolds. And Darius made his money early on in that game. 2 touchdown passes that he received in the early going and really set the tone for this Soul team. It was Sean Kalinamoku with 3 straight touchdowns. He scored the last 3 for the Soul, and that was the difference, obviously. A 2-touchdown win, 56-42, not without some big defensive plays that I know we'll talk about, but SK had a huge day in Glendale, Arizona.
Yes, he did. And we're going to get back to the game in just a second, but huge news on the Eagles front and the Soul front, both teams. Jake Metz wasn't messing around, obviously, in that game with the strip there, and then that led to the touchdown there for Dwayne Hollis. But he signed with the Eagles on Monday, and he's going to have a chance to make the 53-man roster. So awesome for him to get this opportunity. Defensive lineman, for you guys that may not know who he is.
Jake Metz is maybe the MVP of that defense this year. They've had some injuries, some guys taking some time off. Bo Bell missed a portion of the season. Teddy Jennings had a couple games in and out of the lineup. Jake Metz was the guy the whole year. He even stepped up in one game when Neil Tivis went down on the offensive line and played on the O-line. He went both ways. They call that an Iron Man player at the Arena Football League level. But Jake Metz, a guy from Solderton, local in the area, has stayed home with the Soul here, found a really nice place. Remember, Adrian, he went to Shippensburg and holds the school record in sacks, as well as sacks in one season. So joins John Kuhn right now in the NFL ranks of Shippensburg alums, and excited to see what he can do. Obviously, a long way ahead. We talked about it off air. Still at the 75-man clip at this point, so forever and a day to go for some of these undrafted rookies that have come in. But you certainly wish Jake Metz all the best, and he's coming off a lot of momentum. A game-saving strip of Nick Davila that led to the go-ahead touchdown, or not the go-ahead touchdown, but the touchdown to put them up by 2 possessions, and the final one scored in that game.
Yeah, that was a crazy swing of momentum, but we'll get back to that in a second. But speaking of Metz, I mean, you talked about the sacks. He led the Arena League in sacks. He had 8 of them. And, well, it sounds like, what it seems like. I mean, obviously the Eagles, they've got so much depth on the defensive line. So realistically, this is basically a body for the Eagles to, kind of look at in that final preseason game. Obviously, that 4th preseason game, you don't see the starters. It's all backups, 3rd stringers, 4th stringers, guys that are fighting for those final 5 roster spots and to make the practice squad. So realistically, he's probably not going to make the team, but he does have a shot to make that 10-man practice squad, and that would be really cool.
Yeah, and don't tell him that he's not going to make the 53-man either. I mean, Jake is a guy that's really dedicated, and obviously, it may be stacked a little bit against him, right? 6'6", 265. That's a little bit undersized from a weight perspective for a defensive end, but I don't think he's quite quick enough to drop back into the linebacking core, and a very, very talented and deep linebacking core for this Eagles team as well. But again, every man has a shot. He's being signed on the heels of a championship. Not many other guys in the NFL can say they've come off a championship in the last year, whether it be college or someone that happened to be on the Broncos last year. So Jake Metz comes in feeling good about himself, in very good shape and ready to go.
Yeah, and he's got to have a world of confidence too, just winning the title there, and he had a big strip. He's had a huge season. So definitely the momentum is hopefully going to carry over for him. Now let's get back to the game, because let's talk about that 21-0 start. So the Rattlers were driving. It was 7-0 Seoul at the time. What was it, the first quarter? Or yeah, I believe it was first quarter. And they were just about to score. And then you had the strip and the touchdown, 14-0. And then on the ensuing kickoff, the ball ricochets off the upright, the left upright, whatever. I don't know what you call it in the Arena League, but all the way on the left.
The outside casing of the uprights.
So the outside casing of the upright, it takes a precarious bounce, and Belton falls on it for the touchdown. So it's 21-0 in a blink, and that's what really helped the Soul win this game.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about how Arizona was able to come back into it in just a few minutes, but that difference put a lot of separation between those two teams. They ended up trading 2 touchdowns apiece to get to 35-14. And then, Adrian, what I think the key to Arizona getting back in this game is the ensuing interception from the Soul. So the Soul had the football, up 35-14, opportunity to go up 28 points, and they're able to stop them. The Rattlers are the defense, able to stop the Soul, come back down and score again before halftime. So now it's 35-21, and since Arizona deferred to the second half, it allowed them to get the ball, go down, score again. All of a sudden, it's a 7-point game. So that turnover on downs for the Soul, that was, I think, the key moment for the Arizona Rattlers in turning a would-be blowout into what ended up being a really exciting Arena Bowl 29.
Yeah, we basically saw 3 parts of this game. The early start for the Soul, and you look at it, this way. In a championship type of environment, if you're the underdog, you need kind of these type of fluky kind of plays to happen in order to win the championship. And that's what happened. So you had the early start, then the Rattlers come back, and then credit to the Soul to punch back and score those final 2 touchdowns. So that was really cool to see at the end, because if the Rattlers, I mean, they had all the momentum, they're at home, and you'd think, well, the Soul are done. They were not.
No, exactly right. And people forget, or perhaps forget, in the couple of days following the game, that the Rattlers were going down the field down only 6 after Kalanamoku scored his second of would be 3 touchdowns in a row. So it's 48-42. The missed PAT opportunity leads to that opportunity for Arizona to, in theory, go down, kick the extra point, and lead by 1 in the final few minutes of that football game, very reminiscent of what we saw against Jacksonville 2 weeks prior. And so it was Jake Metz with a huge strip at that point, taking it right out of the left arm of Nick Davila, and he recovered his own strip, led to way down the middle to Sean Kalanamoku, and that was the difference.
Yeah. We lost you for a second there. I don't know if you noticed that or not. But let's get back to that. The final touchdown, that was a thing of beauty. The touch that ArenaBowl had on that throw, and then Kalanamoku, for him to snag that for the clincher, that was awesome.
He pretty much snagged it around a defender, which was incredible. It was a good throw by Dan ArenaBowl, and he knew that the defender had to essentially catch up to Sean Kalanamoku. He had a couple steps on him, and so inability to really turn around and find the football, and Kalanamoku did. Very good composure at that point, and he's a professional wide receiver, SK. He's done this for a long time at this level. Is very undersized. When you talk about next level type of guys, you don't see SK and guys that look like him at the next level. But what he does so well is his ability to find pockets in the defense. He runs good routes. He understands when to be just a dump-off type guy. And in that particular case, turn on the jets, turn around, and try to find the football.
Mm-hmm. And ArenaBowl, let's talk about him for a second. I mean, this is the most recognizable name maybe for the Soul. This is a former Miami of Ohio product, played behind Ben Roethlisberger. And that throw was just money. That was a championship type of throw in that type of environment with all the pressure, everything on the line, and he delivered big time.
Adrian, this has been 12 months in the making for him. Every single time, for fans that are the Philadelphia Soul fans that get down to the Wells Fargo Center, to the Sun Center in Trenton, or up at Lehigh PPL Center, they saw an opening video where Dan Rodabaugh was walking off the field after they lost in the conference championship last year to the Jacksonville Sharks, where he had his head down, realized that the dream was over for that year, a team that he thought and knew was good enough to win. He had 12 months to stew over that, and what he came up with in this particular Arena Bowl was an absolutely dynamite performance, completely outplaying Nick Davila, and as much as anything is the reason why the Soul are Arena Bowl champions, and that final throw was a perfect cap to the night.
Just awesome stuff, man. And to make it even sweeter for the Soul, third time was a charm because they lost on 2 prior occasions to the Rattlers in the Arena Bowl. So now they are now 2-2, I believe, in the Arena Bowl. They won it back in 2008, beat the San Jose SaberCats. They are no longer in the league. They are, defunct. But so what do you think about that, beating the Rattlers this time? Because it seems like obviously the Rattlers had their number.
And doing it on the road, a true road game this time against the Rattlers as opposed to a neutral site game. The Soul went out and played in a really difficult place to play. Now, granted, I think we mentioned this in the last show. It was not at Talking Stick Resort Arena, the normal home of the Arizona Rattlers. And whether that was for reasons of something was already booked or they wanted to get into a bigger arena, because this particular arena in Glendale was much bigger. But again, remember, this also occurred at 4:00 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. It kicked at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time, but playing out west, that's obviously 4:00. So it's a television-driven league, and it's not going to be determined solely based on when fans can get there. So may have taken away just a little bit from the atmosphere, but take nothing away. 13,000, 14,000 fans in the building, yelling, screaming, and making it a really difficult place to play. The Soul took that punch, went on the road, and won in a place where they got beaten by 2 touchdowns earlier in the year. Shows the progression of this team, shows the big play nature of the defense. It caused the most turnovers all season long. Had maybe the 2 best cornerbacks in the league, Tracy Belton, as well as, James Romaine came up huge as well. But Dwayne Hollis, I would throw as that second guy in the secondary there. So the 3 of them, each with a turnover, as well as some other huge plays. That's the difference, and I just can't say enough how impressive it is for this team to go on the road, beat a team that's really, really good, one of the better teams you've seen in a long time in Arena Bowl, in their own building when it all counted.
Yeah, I feel completely the same way about that. I even mentioned it a little bit earlier. The fact that the Rattlers come all the way back from this deficit, it was 28-7 after a quarter of play. And for them to come back, to have all the momentum, and for the Soul to withstand all of that and counterpunch on the road, that's why they're world champions. That's what you do. And that's what I'm really, really impressed about.
Yeah, final comment I'll make in terms of this team and where this puts them moving forward. This is the beginning of an expansion profile for this league. So I'll take it from the Soul to the league as a whole. The Soul got to the next level this year. They did everything they needed to do, and they ended up on top. It's class ownership. It's class players. Clint Dolezal, obviously a class coach, won the Coach of the Year this year in the league. Now the league as a whole expands. A 9th team coming in next year out of Washington. They're actually hosting tryouts on October 8th. So, Adrian, if you're feeling up to it, you can take a trip down the Turnpike and get some kicks in there. See if you can make an Arena League squad. But it's just the beginning of a new era of Arena League football. The branding, the sponsorships are increasing as well. It's a good time to be associated with the league. It's why it's a good thing you're doing this show right now. And the Soul, starting next year, not that they haven't been already, but the class of the league and driven by great ownership, players, and coaches.
Yeah, it's really, really cool to see how excited Jaws is about the win. Obviously, if you've seen the Twitter, he's got the Soul all over his Twitter handle. Really excited. It was great to see him even in the stands. They were interviewing him at one point, and he was complaining about the officiating. It was awesome. Just how passionate he is about his team. Even when I was at the 97.5, the Fanatic Fantasy Fest, he was wearing his Soul shirt, and he wanted to answer questions about the Soul. It was great, man. So kudos to Jaws and the ownership, and to really make that a special occasion and a special championship for Philadelphia. And it seems like the city has really gotten behind this team. Maybe people don't necessarily take the arena football too seriously, but we saw the views at PhillyInfluencer.com. A lot of people were clicking on the article that I wrote. So people were definitely behind this championship team.
Adrian, the most impressive part about that, it was very much a fragmented season for this franchise. Because the Democratic National Convention, they had to play 3 games, actually 2 games in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs, so make that 4 games away from the Wells Fargo Center. That's 4 out of 10 games that they played all year long. 1 was in Trenton, 3 were in Allentown. And with all that said, you talk about the views you saw. Scott Butera, the commissioner, we've talked to him a couple times, talks about league-wide views being up 10% in terms of television broadcasts. In markets like Philadelphia, even more than that. So in the midst of everything going on, a very chaotic season, as I think some people in the staff would tell you with the Philadelphia Soul, even with all that, it continued to grow. You saw all the attention being paid in the final week leading up to ArenaBowl. You saw the numbers. I think it's really, really exciting and says a lot for next year when you're going to have 8 regular season games at the Wells Fargo Center, more than likely. Definitely is. All right, so before we kind of conclude, you got anything you want to plug or anything? The only plug I would give is just to my man Rob Stott, who helped me all year long with the pregame show. It's been a great partnership. He and I. We are Bob Long Sports, BLS. You can follow us on Twitter at Bob Long Sports. We have a Facebook page as well. We did every single home game this year, the pregame show. If you want to go back, listen to Clint Dolezal, Dan Rodabaugh, Dwayne Hollis, Darius Money Reynolds. The list goes on and on and on. Sean Kalanamoku. We had all those guys on, as well as Scott Butera, the Arena Football League commissioner, and Phil Bogle, the GM and an offensive guru for the Philadelphia Soul. So that is all available on our website, as are our 2 conversations here, Adrian. I've enjoyed both of them, and BLS is very excited to be partnering with the Philadelphia Soul, and we can't wait for next year, back and better than ever, just like that team, and excited for the championship. And I hope you'll be down there tomorrow for the celebration in Philadelphia.
We shall see. I am a very, very busy man, though, right now, as the Eagles are playing with the Philly Influencer. So I may not have time, but we shall see. I mean, it is at noon, so I might be able to sneak down there. And then they're going to be at Chickies and Pete's afterwards. So they love their Chickies and Pete's. They love their crab fries. For Bob Long, I am Adrian Fedke. Thank you guys for tuning in. And, yeah, awesome. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Soul.